Black gold, one of Texas's most valuable resources, is deep under our ground. Today, we're going to discuss the important role of petroleum in Texas's economy and history. The discovery of black gold, or petroleum as it's known, or oil to most of us, is something that Texas is known for all over the world. It's become a part of our identity. Today, we're going to look at that discovery. The early uses of petroleum. In some places, petroleum seeped up out of the ground. The Karankwa Indians noticed pools of this black, sticky liquid, and they figured out how to use it to keep water from leaking out of their pots and baskets or leaking into their boats. The Spanish explorers used it to seal the bottom and sides of their large ships. Pioneers used it to grease their tools and wagon wheels. Over time, people learned to make fuels out of petroleum when they realized it would burn. In the 1850s, oil could be heated up and converted into a new substance called kerosene. Kerosene is what was used in lamps. It is still often used today in camping equipment, and the lamps were used to light homes long after the sun went down. And the demand for kerosene increased and increased and increased over time. Oil became valuable enough that some people called it black gold. People began digging in the hope that they would strike oil or strike it rich. But T.O. Higgins was a person who bought and sold land and homes. He lived in Beaumont, Texas. He liked to have picnics with his family on a hill named Spindletop. During one picnic, he noticed that the nearby stream of water was actually bubbling. And not bubbling like a cute little babbling brook, but bubbling like water does in a pot or a pan. He wondered if this might be a sign that there was hot oil underneath the ground. So he formed an oil company with some other local landowners and businessmen. Higgins tried drilling into Spindletop Hill all through the 1890s. Years passed, and his efforts failed to find oil. His tools were never able to dig very deep, and by 1899 he had completely run out of money, and still he'd not found any oil. But Higgins refused to give up, so he decided to seek help from a mining expert. He hired Anthony Lucas to help him continue the search for oil on Spindletop. In October of 1900, Lucas and his crew began to drill a well. On January 10th, 1901, they struck oil. The workers heard a rumbling noise as the ground shook. Mud, gas, and oil exploded up and out through the well. Spindletop was a gusher. Higgins' refusal to give up, his fortitude was rewarded. The era of Texas oil had begun. The oil business. During the 1800s, wood and coal were the main fuel sources of the United States. The average oil well, though, produced around 1,200 barrels of oil in an entire year. The story was different, though, at Spindletop. In 1 year, the well produced 3.59 million barrels. By 1903, wells had produced 17.4 million barrels at Spindletop. News of the Spindletop gusher spread quickly. Thousands of people came to Beaumont, hoping to strike it rich. In just a few months, the population of Beaumont, Texas grew from 10,000 to 50,000. So the town of Beaumont became known as a boom town. Can you predict what kind of problems a boom town might face? Yeah, with so many people arriving, the town was not large enough to service them all. It became hard to find a place to stay or to live. Some people had to just set up tents. Others rented beds in shifts. I'll rent the bed for these hours, then you rent it for those hours. Each person would only get to sleep in them for a few hours at a time. Why, some people even had to sleep in the streets. Plus, there was a shortage of food and water. Some Beaumont citizens got the smart idea of selling fresh water to all the newcomers. To all the oil searchers, they began to sell them things. They became what we call entrepreneurs who opened businesses. The demand for clean water was great. At one point, water sold for as high as $1 per gallon. That'd be like paying over $25 today. Today, the water company that started in Beaumont to service those looking for oil is called Ozarka. Because of Spindletop, 500 new oil companies opened up in Beaumont. The booming oil industry changed Texas, changed the United States, it even changed the world. The now abundant fuel could be used to power trains, factories, ships. Texas began to export oil to all other parts of the world. Before Spindletop, the demand for oil was limited because of its high prices. Demand is the desire of people to buy something. In the early 1900s, oil sold for $1 per barrel. Spindletop greatly increased our supply of oil. Supply is the desire to sell something on a market. Because there was now more than enough supply to satisfy the demand, the price of oil could drop. It eventually dropped down to just 3 cents a barrel.